When temperatures drop to 84 degrees below zero, strange things begin to happen. Metal itself can crack, batteries die quickly, and even breathing becomes painful. As for exposed skin, it can freeze within minutes. In a place like this, stepping outside isn't a casual walk, it's a survival test. And yet, in the middle of this frozen world stands something that seems completely irrational. A tent. Just a tent. No concrete walls, no advanced insulation, no modern heating systems, just a tent. But is this tent actually safe? Can it really be warm while the world outside is colder than most industrial freezers by dozens of degrees? Or are the stories told about it exaggerated? To answer that question, we first need to meet the people who own it. The Yakuts, one of the peoples who have lived for centuries in some of the harshest inhabited places on Earth. Many of them were nomadic herders, constantly moving across vast stretches of snow and ice. They couldn't build a new house every time they moved. And they had nowhere else to hide from this deadly cold. Almost everything they owned traveled with them. And among the most important things they carried was this tent. That's why it wasn't just a shelter. It was, quite literally, the line between life and death. And here comes the first surprise. This tent actually worked. It protected people who lived in it for years, and it kept them from freezing to death. But how? That's the part that seems puzzling, because anyone looking at it from the outside would assume it couldn't possibly be enough. Outside, temperatures shatter records. Inside, people live relatively comfortably. How is that possible? The first thing to understand is that the challenge isn't creating heat, it's keeping it from escaping. Because losing even a small amount of heat here can be a disaster. And that's where the secret begins, in the design of the tent itself. But even the best design in the world isn't enough on its own. Let's say you light a fire inside. Great. The temperature starts to rise. But what happens next? That heat immediately tries to escape outside. And that's where the Yakuts had to find a solution. They turned the tent into a barrier against this constant loss of heat. But is that enough? No. Because there's another enemy most people never think about. The ground. The frozen earth beneath the tent pulls heat away constantly, like a giant sponge absorbing warmth. That's why they didn't just protect the sides. They dealt with the problem from below as well. But there's still a bigger question. What if the winds become stronger? What if the temperature drops even further? Can the tent still survive? The surprising thing is that the tent doesn't rely on a single solution, or a single layer, or a single source of warmth. Instead, it depends on a whole chain of clever tricks. Each one alone isn't enough. But when they all work together, something remarkable happens. The fire raises the temperature, but by itself, that's not enough. So insulating layers slow the loss of heat. But even that isn't enough. Then animal hides and fur trap even more warm air. But that's still not enough. So the tent itself is kept relatively small, making it much easier to heat. Yet there's still one frightening question. What happens if the fire goes out? Is that the end of the story? Oddly enough, the answer isn't as immediate as you might think. Because heat doesn't disappear instantly, the warm air trapped inside remains there. The fur retains some of the warmth, and the people inside continuously generate heat with their own bodies. All of these things begin working together, almost as if the tent becomes a giant thermal battery, storing as much warmth as possible. That's why the Yakuts weren't trying to defeat winter. They were doing something far smarter. They were preventing winter from reaching them in the first place. Every layer, every hide, every piece of fur, and every inch of the tent's design serves one purpose: to keep the warmth inside from escaping for as long as possible. Because in a place like this, the difference between a warm tent and a cold one may be the difference between waking up in the morning or never waking up at all.